And here we go!
Viewer discretion is advised.
If the 60s were a weird time, the 80s were so bizarre most of us would like to completely forget them. What must have been drawn up by a coke-fueled architect was the Chicago Sports Complex, which featured an outdoor baseball stadium right next to an indoor football stadium. I found the plans on stadiumpage.com and they are kind of amazing. Situated in the North Loop part of South Chicago, the Bears would have played in a 78,000-seat stadium and the White Sox in a 54,000-seat park. This plan was rejected in 1990 by the Illinois legislature. The architect is probably still rubbing his gums. This stadium gets some heavy criticism, kind of like trotting out Mitchell Trubisky again as your starter. But the history factor and the fact that they preserved the exterior of the old Soldier Field does help the aesthetic score. Though it may look odd to some, it took impressive engineering to raise the grandstand above the old facade. Unfortunately for Bears fans, the goalpost is right where it should be. Coming off of 3 years of deferring to player-coach Peyton Manning, John Fox got the job in Chicago and proved that he had left his best coaching days in Denver. Fox once made it work with Jake Delhomme and Tim Tebow, but went 14-34 in 3 seasons with Jay Cutler and Mitch Trubisky. I'm sorry, I'm laughing in Packers fan. This would also be another giant why, as even though it was essentially rebuilt in 2003, the new Soldier Field is aging out and replacement plans, possibly in Arlington Park, are already underway. This stadium was never designed with a Super Bowl in mind, and its downtown proximity would be a nightmare for an event as large as the Super Bowl. Plus, have we brought up the wind yet?
As this woman clinged onto the side of a building for dear life.
Before the 49ers won a single Super Bowl, they went into Chicago and laid a 34-0 beatdown on the Bears in 1974. Who were the post-Butkus and pre-Singletary Bears? The essence of Chicagoan purgatory. Except back then the fans weren't just waiting for some old lady to die. Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy. Oh, did I mention Matt Nagy? Allen Robinson, Roquan Smith, Khalil Mack, and Justin Fields about to die. Since it was rebuilt in 2002, Soldier Field has been more of a fan tolerance than a fan favorite. With unusual architecture, an odd seating configuration, harsh weather coming off of Lake Michigan, and difficult access, new Soldier Field has certainly faced its challenges despite being relatively young in terms of stadium age. After years of speculation and a delisting as a historic landmark, in 2021 the Bears submitted a bid for the nearby Arlington Park racetrack property and reached an agreement. Most fans seem on board with the new site as it would just make more sense. The same architecture firm that built Allegiant Stadium has been hired, and the lease at Soldier Field could end as early as 2026. As of today, no renderings have been done, so it could take up to 10 years before either the Bears get a new stadium or Justin Fields gets an offensive line. Looking to move and sell the Chicago Bears. The current state of the Chicago Bears marks a confluence of the team desperately looking for a new stadium and the fans waiting for an old lady to die. First, let's tackle the move, as it has been no secret whatsoever that the team plans to move to Arlington Heights despite no formal announcement yet. The team bought a large parcel of land out there, and I'm sure it's not designated to be a Bears-themed amusement park with a ride called the Double Doink or Jay Cutler's Lazy River. Mayor Beetlejuice has proposed last-ditch plans to keep the team in Chicago, like putting a roof on Soldier Field, but all those ideas have been more laughable than Matt Nagy's play calling. The team is moving. Now let's tackle the sale. Virginia McCaskey is 99 years old and there is no succession plan in place. According to the Daily Herald, infighting among the inheriting family members might urge the sale forward. The franchise could be worth over $5 billion. That's a pretty big pie to split. Bears fans have been anticipating a sale for decades, as it's clear the team has been poorly run for a long time. Like that time when they hired a head coach without even telling him. True story, look it up. The Chicago Bears. There might not be a more comical stadium saga than that of the Chicago Bears and their battle with the city that hosts them. Now, we all know for a fact that the Bears have bought out land in the suburbs and are pretty much committed to building their new stadium in Arlington Park, but there haven't been any formal renderings released yet. We do know they hired an architecture firm, and their website actually has a pretty thorough description of what their plan for Arlington Park is: a sprawling retail and commercial area that aims to semi-urbanize an otherwise unurban area. Like I said before, they have not released any official renderings of the new stadium, instead choosing to portray the arena as a giant block of translucent white cheese. So we don't know if it's going to be a dome or not. Side note, major props to the Bears, who stated on their website that they will not be seeking public funds for their new project. However, that didn't stop Mayor Beetlejuice from spending public funds to have these renderings drawn up. A Hail Mary plan to keep the Bears right where they are by bolting a roof onto Soldier Field and making things right again. The renderings do look cool, if not completely insane. To retrofit new Soldier Field with a roof will require a massive renovation and force the Bears to some substandard venue for over a year just to make them resent the city even more. It looks like they want to take out an entire side of the stadium to build vertical luxury boxes, which is a neat idea, but again requires essentially a teardown and rebuild. Let's be honest, Soldier Field isn't that great to begin with, so any proposal that requires retention of the old features has to be looked at with skepticism. The mayor should probably work on all the other problems Chicago has. Looks like the Bears have this one solved.
The 1980s Bears. We all remember the infamous 1985 Super Bowl champion Bears, who dominated the league to a tune of an 18-1 record. But it begs the question, why did such a dominant team like that only make one Super Bowl in the decade? The Bears' title window was from 1984 to 1988, in which they made 3 conference championship games and led the NFL in winning percentage at 79%. They had a historically dominant defense, but outside of 1985, they were never able to complement it with even adequate quarterback play. If I was a Bears fan, I would be super pissed that they didn't reel off 3 or 4 titles in the decade. Chicago. The last time the Chicago Bears had a great quarterback, Hitler was still alive. This is how I know Justin Fields is going to suck, because it's literally illegal for the Bears to have a good offense. Even if Fields does somehow become a good quarterback, it won't make up for passing over Patrick Mahomes in favor of Mitch Trubisky in 2017. Bears fans today still brag about 1985, even though that team should have been a dynasty instead of a one-ring wonder that never got back to another Super Bowl for 20 years. Walter Payton is the best and most beloved player in team history and is hailed up as a role model by everybody, even though he was unfaithful to his wife many times and acted like a little bitch when he didn't get a touchdown in the Bears' Super Bowl win. Mike Singletary couldn't cover anybody, and Brian Urlacher played like a pussy against the run. Staley the Bears. Staley's face gives off "what the hell kind of question was that" vibes. I do find it hilarious that he's built like Tyson Fury though. Why the fuck are mascots either ripped to the gills or obese and no in between? Is there a secret mascot rulebook I don't know about? Perhaps Staley is just tired from trying to prevent forest fires under his other identity, Smokey the Bear. Yeah, that's right, I just exposed this bastard. Rating, 7 out of 10. Chicago Bears, Sid Luckman. The Bears' history with quarterbacks is so awful you have to go all the way back to when Hitler was still alive to find a time when they had a good one. Luckman is a Hall of Famer, a 3-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time All-Pro, and 4-time NFL champion. He also made the NFL's All-Decade team of the 1940s. Imagine that, a Chicago Bears quarterback making the All-Decade team nowadays. Hilarious. Chicago Bears, Gary Huff. Rest assured, the Chicago Bears have had so many terrible quarterbacks over the years, it's hard to single out just one, but I went with Huff, who threw 12 touchdowns and 34 interceptions in 4 years with the team. It's made even worse by the fact that Huff was a relatively high draft pick, 33rd overall. Huff would leave Chicago and spend 2 years with the expansion Buccaneers, where he would throw 4 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. Chicago Bears, 1986 divisional round. The Bears went 14-2 in 1986, continuing their dominance off of winning a Super Bowl. However, starting quarterback Jim McMahon wasn't available for the playoffs this time, so Mike Ditka decided to make tiny Doug Flutie the starter going into their playoff game versus Washington. It was not well received. Chicago, despite being 7-point favorites, lost by 14 points at home. Flutie was awful, and Chicago committed 4 turnovers. Chicago Bears, Eddie Jackson. The former Pro Bowler and All-Pro has fallen off of a cliff these past 2 seasons, securing 0 interceptions while allowing 8 touchdowns. Opposing quarterbacks had a ridiculous 143.6 rating when targeting Jackson last season. Simply put, he hasn't played like a star for a minute now, and the Bears have suffered. Chicago Bears, Jim McMahon. McMahon won a lot of games with the Bears, including the Super Bowl in their infamous 1985 season. He will forever be loved by the Windy City, but here's the thing. His amazing win-loss record is largely due to his legendary defensive support and a guy named Walter Payton. McMahon is pretty well regarded for a barely above-average quarterback who is made of glass and missed a shitload of games every year. Chicago Bears, Roquan Smith. Smith has always been an athletic freak, and he has been second-team All-Pro in each of the last 2 years. What is surprising is how he still never made a Pro Bowl for some reason. He's a very talented all-around linebacker who isn't great in pass coverage, but it's not a weakness either. Chicago Bears, Justin Fields. Point blank, I wasn't impressed with Fields as a rookie, even though his physical tools are evident. I still keep hearing, though, how great his potential is, even from non-Bears fans, and quite honestly, a lot of it just reeks of draft junkies trying to confirm their priors. Verdict: overrated. Chicago Bears. Justin Fields is terrible, and Bears fans don't realize it yet, or they do and are just pushing those feelings down deep. Fields' dreadful rookie season was excused because of Matt Nagy, who actually had a respectable 32-23 record in Chicago without Fields starting. Now this year, when Fields inevitably stinks up the joint again, despite Nagy being gone, the excuse will be that he has no weapons and the organization let him down. It won't be until after year 3, when Fields continues to blow, that Bears fans will finally admit he isn't the franchise savior. How do I know this? Because it literally happens all across the NFL all the time. Fuck, just look at the Bears' recent history with Mitch Trubisky. This team always has a good defense but no quarterback to pair with it. Aaron Rodgers has never been known for game-winning drives, but he turns into Joe Montana in crunch time against you. Even his one NFC Championship game win was against you on your field. You can't even bring up his playoff career against him without making yourselves look worse in the process. You should have had a dynasty in the mid-80s, but instead we're just one ring wonders who play out that one ring like the 2008 Celtics do for the NBA.